Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the PSP Go and see how this particular gaming console holds up in 2025. Now, the thing I can definitely tell you about the PlayStation P Go was that this is still a very interesting console, to say the least. This was one of those consoles when it came out. It was a really big change coming from the predecessor of these things, which are the standard PSPs, and this thing brought a really big redesign. So I will tell you, looking at this particular console compared to the other ones, there are lots and lots of little tiny changes that, Sony kind of threw in here that really made it a really interesting type of layout of the device. Now, number one, it kind of brought in this sliding mechanism. So it was pretty much like this really cool looking design. And like I said, I think this was one of the coolest things going on for this type of console. I love that you had the display on the front and you slide it open and you basically get the D-pad and the buttons on the side of it as well. This was without a doubt a really cool thing. And although right now this type of design might be a little bit different, a little bit older, I still feel like this was a really cool thing that Sony kind of did. And it really made the next iteration of the Sony consoles kind of stand out on their own, which was really cool. Now, when you kind of look at it, you basically had the micro SD card slot, standard things like that. Unfortunately, it wasn't a micro SD card either. It was that other type of port. But the thing here and the problem here was that you were basically going through and you were basically, the problem here was there was no UMD drive. So all your games had to be played digitally. And that was Sony's push of trying to make people get digital games. And I feel like that was kind of a miss. I feel like that was one of the big, it was too much too soon. I think Sony should have really focused in on kind of the digital games for a generation or two while still having the UMD drive, but giving people the option of choosing the digital game or the UMD drive game. And the cool thing is with the, UMD slot, with the next, when they eventually brought it back with the next ones, I like it kind of how Sony did theirs. With Nintendo, they basically went through, gave us the port, so they gave us the ability of kind of having that port there, and then they kind of went through and then gave us that standard type of digital game, and they were like, well, if you buy the digital game, it's cheaper than the hardware game. So Sony probably could have done something like that at that point as well. I think that probably would have been nicer. Now, another issue with this thing is that because it's kind of older, there's not really too many games being developed for this thing anymore, but I still say I do like having this type of console because it gives you kind of how Sony wanted you to play those games for a while inside of this type of device. So I do feel like it's actually a really cool thing. There's still quite a bit of a modding community behind it. It is, still very you can modify this thing quite a bit. And that right there is another really cool advantage here because you have the capability of kind of going through and, modifying this thing. And I feel like, once again, if you are going to go through and pick up a device, this is kind of a nice thing going on here as well. There's so many games available for this thing right now, how it exists, but there's also so many games that are available that you can emulate, things like Game Boy games, Nintendo 64 games, PlayStation 1 games. And having that inside of a console of this size is something that is so cool. It's so sick. And you have that type of capability here, which, like I said before, is something that is genuinely really awesome. So I will tell you, in my personal opinion, I am a fan of the PSP Go. I feel like this is one of those types of consoles that's so cool and it's so unique. But the thing you're going to have to remember here is that with the PSP Go, this is a console that's slightly older. It's not going to have any more hardware, any more games released. But also the other thing too is that with this type of console, it's kind of going up in price. So it's not like a super cheap console either. It still costs quite a bit of money. So that is going to be another one of those small things to keep in mind there. But I would still say, for the most part, you're still getting a really cool type of console. It's a really unique type of device. But like I said, there might be some better options out there for the most part. So from that side, that kind of covers it out there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.